Morning, everybody. ForexFreeClub weekly analysis back. Thank you guys for tuning in again this week. So just to start us off, I just want to remind you guys that we do have free signals that are posted online. You can get email alerts if you want to sign up, or you could just watch the page for free. And so yeah, let's get to it. So last week we were looking at core PCE. The data was released. We did have positive, better than expected news. That's the only thing that we're looking at today. So just to review, PCE measures the changes in the price of goods and services purchased by consumers for the purpose of consumption, excluding food and energy. So this reading that came out is positive for the U.S. dollar, and sorry about that. So here we go. So it did come out positive for the dollar. It was expected to be zero point 0.3, but it came out to be 0.4. And we're going to read an article. All right, so debt ceiling negotiations support FXCM's US dollar basket, but pressure on gold. Okay, so as the deadline approaches for the United States to increase its spending limits and prevent a potentially catastrophic default, tensions are steadily escalating. Congress is responsible for increasing these spending limits to avoid default, but Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy will not do so without an agreement on spending cuts and spending limits. This is leading to a fair amount of uncertainty, and the dollar is benefiting as a haven. Given that gold is priced in dollars, it is also reacting. Okay. So the top chart shows FXCM US dollar basket, and the candlestick chart underneath it is gold. The bottom indicator shows a correlation coefficient between the two. US dollar has moved into its bullish channel between the upper blue and red bands. This is due to the uncertainty of the debt ceiling negotiations and a flight to safety, i.e. money is moving to the dollar. In reaction to the US dollar strength, gold has moved into its bearish channel between the lower blue and red bands. This makes sense given that the correlation coefficient between the two is minus 56%, reflecting an inverse relationship. As long as the uncertainty persists, the dollar will likely have a tailwind with gold feeling the pressure. All right, and then let's see. I just want to read about AUD, just because we did have a bearish reaction from AUD and NZD this week due to the dollar strengthening. So AUD USD cautious after Australian wage data. So the pair made a strong start to the month after the RBA surprised markets by starting its rate hike cycle, and the Fed hinted to a pause, but central banks are all over the place, creating an uncertain outlook. Inflation in the U.S. remains high and the labor market tight, with officials maintaining a mostly hawkish stance and dismissing market pricing for rate cuts this year. The debt ceiling drama in the U.S. adds another level of complexity, and the relevant risk aversion has helped the U.S. dollar, although House Speaker McCarthy offered a ray of hope after Tuesday's negotiation, saying that it is possible to get a deal by the end of the week. Also weighing on the sentiment and AUD USD were yesterday's discouraging data from China, which keeps fears alive for a sluggish recovery of Australia's key trading partner. Industrial production and retail sales were robust, but not as food as market, but not as good as market expected. Okay. Today's data from Australia, meanwhile, show that wages grew by 3.7% year over year in quarter one, and the biggest increase in around 11 years. On a quarterly basis, the wage price index steadied at 0.8%. These elevated levels don't help bring down overall inflation, keeping pressure on the RBA or restrictive stance. On the other hand, they did not seem strong enough to spark fears of wage inflation spiral since CPI eased to 7% year over year in quarter one. The Aussie had a mixed reaction to today's wage release, but remains cautious amidst fears around China's economic rebound and the U.S. debt ceiling after having rejected the critical 38.2% of the 2023 high/low drop again last week. Bias is clearly on the downside, and AUD USD is in risk of fresh 2023 lows around 0.6563. but 0.6433 looks distant for now. Market expectation of a Fed pause and rate cuts can support the pair and give it the chance to reclaim the 200 EMA. However, significant improvement in sentiment will be required for a convincing move above it, as the upside appears unfriendly with the rejected 38.2 Fibonacci and the upper border of the daily Ichimoku cloud looming large. So, as you can see here, this is what they're talking about. Rejected from 200 EMA, so be looking for further downside rather than going back up. So we'll keep that in mind. Just to review COT, let's take a look. AUD. Oops, that's the wrong part. All right, more data. Opinion. So still a strong sell. All right. Look at GU. GU is still a buy. So it's not saying it's a strong buy. So let's see what NZD is looking like. All right, NZD is sell. So AUD weakness is the strongest, then NZD weakness, then GBP strength. But it's not saying GBPs are super strong. So yeah, let's head to the charts. Okay, let me just. All right, so you can see this week, I got the ForexFreeClub free indicator. Um, I think I talked about it last week, so you can go back to last week's videos to get the information about that. So just to go through the watch list really quickly, we did get a strong sell signal this week on AUDs. So I'd like to see if we possibly could retest before potentially moving down. Um, let's see. I don't know if I have the zone on every pair. I might get rid of it depending. All right, and then Swiss franc. Yeah, we did break through our demand here as well. So a retest would be a nice short signal. We didn't get the sell signal on this, but we did get a sell signal earlier. So we're still in a bearish trend. Let me go back to AU real quick. One thing I do want to point out is that we are sitting on top of the 0.65 QP for AU. So that's serving as slight demand. So QPs of interest for sells will be the 0.66 and then also the 0.67. I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure I'm doing that right. 6. Okay. Yeah, so those would just be this is a round numbers, and then we got 0.65, 0.675. So that's our QP range, 0.65 to 0.675. In between, some prices of interest would be the 6.6 and the 6.7. But ideally, if you were to get back up to the 6.75, we'd be looking for a short position from 6.75, taking it down to 0.65. Basically, the move that just happened, we're still within this range. So possibly we could get a buyback up, but ideally we'd be looking to take the continuation down. All right, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make this a little bit easier to see. Just get rid of all of this. There we go. Okay, so that'll make things a little easier. Okay, cool. Just looking at the quarter points now, really focused on the other prices. So yeah, I was able to catch the small pullback from the 0.65 QP buy last night. All right. So then for A Swiss, our QP range is zero point 0.6 to 0.575. We're still at the top of the range, but serving as supply. We finally got a strong reaction. So any pullback would be a continuation down to 0.575. Looking at GBPs. All right, so GBPs, the QP range or GBP USD is 1.25 to 1.225. As you can see, 1.225 is in strong demand. We are currently in a weekly demand zone, but it's pretty small zone. We can see that we tapped into the monthly zone and had a slight reaction. So I want to see if we're going to complete this QP range down to the 1.225, or if we're going to fail to break this range with the reversal. 1.25 will be a good entry for the buy continuation back up to 1.275. So we'll see how that plays out. Like I said, I focus on the weekly time frame for my analysis, and then I enter on the 4 hour during the week when I see positions. So, um, I'm not going to review my entries, but I just want to go over my analysis to be prepared for next week. All right, so GP Swiss franc is pretty much in consolidation. The Swiss franc pairs have been making it hard to know the true direction, but I've been using the yen pairs for my bias, and we did get a strong reaction from the market due to the dollar strengthening. But even still, you can see that GBPs did not really push that much. So it is looking more like a bullish setup, which is in line with what GU and GJ have done. So a nice entry would be 1.125, taking it up to the 1.15. But obviously, we have to break above, retest, and then get that continuation up. So we'll see how that goes. Last time we were up at those prices were in November. So you can see that we've been basically chopping between the 1.15 and the 1.1. And so as we slowly wind it down, we've been still finding nice demand from the 1.1. And so we're going to see if this supply currently at the 1.125 will break and then become demand for the continuation back up to 1.15. Right. NZD USD. So we got our sell signal. Um, if you'd like to enter in for the continuation, I think this would be a good pair to look for continuation for next week. We have a little bit of ways to go before the next QP zero point 0.6. The QP we're coming from is 0.625, but as you can see, we broke below, consolidated, had a nice reaction, and then finally we dropped. So due to all of this liquidity being swept, it's possible that we could reverse back up to the highs, but I would be looking for the bearish continuation since we're underneath our alligators, possibly going down to 1.575. So we'll see what happens with the AUD and NZD weakness. The news were talking about, China and its economy contributing to NZD and AUD weakness. All the commodity linked pairs having weakness. So we'll continue to watch that. All right, NZD Swiss franc. We're still sitting at that 1.55 demand. We haven't broke below, but we did get a nice strong sell candle. So we'd be looking to see if maybe we retest this as supply and then drop down to 0.525. That would be in line with the weakness that we're seeing. But if we do get a bullish reaction from this quarter point, we'd be looking to take that up to the 0.575. That could serve as supply again, maybe possibly then selling it right back down to 0.55. All right. So I'm trying to get back into crypto as well. So we'll run through the crypto watch list again. As you can see, we're still around the same prices. So that's why I'm feeling like it's possible that we're going to start looking for price to roll over to the upside. We have several weeks of selling that still hasn't broken bullish structure. So this does look like a good price for entries for the buy continuation on Bitcoin. Okay, so Ethereum, we did have a slight reaction, but it's not convincing. So we might get lower pricing before looking for a turnaround eventually. But still, like I said, market structure is still bullish, but it's possible that we could roll over to the upside from this point. All right, SPX chopping around at the highs. I believe Nasdaq is doing something similar. Um, so we do have to be careful of price pulling back. I'd rather wait for a stronger retest, back down to the alligators before taking the buy up. Or if you'd like to sell it, maybe wait for a strong bearish candle before looking for that sell. All right, so Nasdaq's actually going through the highs. I'm gonna get the quarter points off. All right, so Nasdaq actually blew through the highs. So possibly another bullish week next week, but be careful because we haven't had a strong retest since March. So we don't know when it's due to pull back again strongly back to the alligators before looking for another continuation. So we'll just watch that. But we've been bullish all year on the indices. All right, so gold is giving us a nice reaction from the highs. We had 1, 2, 3 to the high. Still have bullish structure, but you want to wait till this pullback rides out, making sure to use market structure lows as your limit, your stop loss area necessarily, because that would be the break of the bullish structure on the higher time frame. So essentially just wait for it to come back down or to give you an indication of being truly bullish after the pullback. And then you can look to hop in for the continuation up, knowing that if price were to break below this and retest, then you'd be looking for shorts. All right, so silver is more discounted. This would be a nice area to look for buys from, with this being the low to watch. And since we're pretty much at 50%, I think that the buy entry will be a safe entry. Okay, so volatility still at the lows. Um, I'm interested to see why we're not getting more volatility in the market. I believe it has to do something with all the news. As you can see, we've been chopping around for some weeks, which really just shows indecision in the market that people aren't really sure whether to invest in the dollar or to invest in riskier assets. All right, so AUD government bonds are increasing, so that is a bullish signal for the AUDs. I'm interested to know why the bond yields are going up, but the currency itself is still falling. Obviously, we can see that we have somewhat of a bearish trend. So a break of these highs would confirm bullishness, but we did technically get a market structure break here. So I'm just waiting to see, maybe we'll get a buy signal, and that'll be a fundamental reason to look for buys on Australian dollar. GBPs looks like we're getting ready to clear the previous highs. Got our buy signal. And then last week we were bullish, so that's definitely supporting GBPs being strong. NZDs kind of chopping around, so this one is kind of in no man's land. I'd rather wait to see what price does, but as you can see, we had a strong reaction the week prior, and then now we're kind of consolidating with the doji candle. So basically, we'd have to see if next week would be bearish or bullish to support NZD weakness or strength. Let's look at the indexes. AD index bearish, GBP index bearish, but in bullish structure. Yeah, NZD index bearish, JPY basket. So JPYs are losing strength. That's why the JPYs have been going crazy. GBP, JPY did a crazy move last week. So or this week, we'll see what happens next week. All right, futures bearish for AUDs, bullish for GBPs, and bearish for NZDs. So overall, everything is lining up. Overall, my bias is that the dollar is weakening. But as you can see, we did have some strength in the market, which could be, a major sign of the future direction of the market. Obviously, the fundamentals that are being priced in, they're kind of showing that the dollar could be gaining strength again. So we'll see what happens. You know, if you guys have any questions, please reach out. Trying to make the videos a little bit quicker, easier to consume, but still going through all the content. So don't mind the time, getting shorter and shorter each week. As I get more participation, the videos will be longer, but just for the sake of conciseness, I do want to make the videos a little bit shorter. So thank you all, everybody, for tuning in this week. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm just going to see briefly if I have any. So no questions right now. So oh man, hopefully I was sharing the. Please tell me I shared the screen. Man, I just ran through this whole analysis, didn't share the screen. All right, so we're just gonna run back through real quick. AUD sold off. Swiss franc sold off. That's literally the worst thing when I forget to share the right screen. But I apologize. You guys just be patient with me. I'm still getting the hang of all this technical stuff. I feel like a geezer sometimes. All right, GBPs. I just want to run through real quick the watch list, just because you guys didn't miss the analysis. Hopefully, you can play back the video and just listen to what I said. So, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Just gonna run through. You guys got all the notes, so we'll just have the visual representation of the charts. Nasdaq, gold, silver, volatility index, AUDs, GBPs, NZDs, AUDs, GBPs, NZDs. So that should pretty much cover it. Sorry about that, guys. I'm back. All right, guys. So sorry about that. We have real life things going on. And I apologize for the stream not being, 100% at its top quality. But yeah, please tune in next week again, and we'll follow the market again. Have a great day, everybody.